Have you ever heard someone say to you, I don't like your tone? I don't like the tone of voice that you're using with me. Have you heard somebody say that to you? The tone of the voice is what a lot of people talk about because when you get it wrong, it gives people the wrong impression. And impression, unfortunately, is everything. The perception that we are giving other people consistently by the way that we show up makes or breaks a first impression. So true. Have a think about it. There are so many comedians that actually talk about tonality and the tone of voice too. So this is part of my live today. What I'm doing on Q&A Wednesdays is directly after my YouTube video has gone live on Tuesday night at midnight, I then go onto YouTube and answer 3 pressing questions from my fans. So today it's all about you and getting your voice to where it needs to be. My name is Elisa James. I'm a holistic voice and presentation coach. And today I'm answering questions from my YouTube channel, and it's called The Voice of Confidence TV. If you've seen me before, this is a great opportunity to go and subscribe and hit the bell notification inside YouTube. That way you'll make sure that you don't miss another live video or a pre-recorded video. I upload 3 videos a week, 2 live and 1 pre-recorded. There's loads and loads of content and value on my channel, so check it out. Just go straight into YouTube and press and type in the search button, The Voice of Confidence TV. Now, every week I also go live directly into Facebook, into my group, the Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you don't have to miss out. Come and join our group. There's lots of fun things happening in our group, and I'd love to see you there. So just go straight to Facebook and type in Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club. I'll put the links below in the YouTube comments as well. So let's get stuck into it today. It's all about the voice. No trouble, because voice is my jam. Now, this is the very first question on my YouTube channel, and I get thousands of questions. And I've made so many videos. I've answered a lot of these questions inside my videos, but new people just keep coming on and they don't see everything. So today I'm answering the 3 most pressing questions on the first page of comments inside my channel. This one is from Maria Angeline. Now, Maria Angeline is going to be an MC in a big event that's going to be a graduation. Now, I've gone through 3 graduations, so I sort of have a good idea of what that would look like. Now, as an MC, Maria, one of the very first things that you need to do is make sure you own your space. Super important. If you are going to be on stage, and usually a graduation is going to be live, I would imagine in person, not sure how it goes with COVID days, but live in person, I've done loads of MCing gigs. The very first thing you have to come out and do on stage is own that stage as though this is your kingdom. This is where people come to be entertained, to be edutained, to be uplifted, to be inspired by things that happen because of you being there and you opening the floor. As an MC, walk on the stage with your mic in your hand and make sure that you keep your mic very close to your face. This is super important. I've seen so many people get this wrong. Believe me, they do this. Like they're blessing, like a pope blessing the audience. You don't want to do that because nobody's going to hear you. When you're using a mic, let me just grab my podcasting mic for a second. If you're using your mic like this, nobody's going to hear you and it's going to sound really bad because the sound is going to be thin because of the way that you're going across against the grain. What you need to do is speak directly into the microphone, into the diaphragm at the top. That will give you the best sound. It's like this little microphone here. If I speak closely to it, you're going to hear me clearly with a much better depth of sound than if I put it away or I took it away altogether. So the closer your voice is to the mic, the nicer your voice will sound to the audience. And that's important because when your voice sounds pleasant and easy to listen to, guess what? People listen more because there's nothing uncomfortable or annoying about the sound of your voice. The sound of your voice can turn people off or not. Remember, it's all about the tone. So number 1, Marie Angelina, you come on and you own that space. hold your microphone, speak to the audience, go as far down to the front of the stage as you can and engage them as much as possible. Now, when we're speaking about tonality, the tone of voice that you're going to need is super confident, super relaxed, and super engaged. So really ramp up your energy before you go on stage, because that energy surging through your body is going to really uplift and inspire the audience to have a good time. Now, think about the situation that you're in. Every single speaker needs to really take into account what the gig is, what's involved, and what's your one big intention for that gig. Now, you as an MC, I can imagine you're going to be surrounded by people who are nervous. I've been to graduations. I've graduated 3 times from university. No, I didn't fail 3 times. I graduated 3 times. But when you get on stage, a lot of people who are not performers, they don't want to be on stage. They get nervous when they have to speak. They get nervous when they have to come up and accept their certificate and wear their hat and do all that. It's a nerve-wracking thing for some people. So your job as an MC is to own the space and make everybody feel really comfortable. Make them feel at home. Don't be afraid of welcoming them on stage with a smile. Make sure that you feel like you are the boss and the leader in that space. When you speak up with a voice of confidence and strength, because you are in charge of the entire thing. The tone is set with the MC. Always. The MC sets the tone for the entire event. So if you allow people to have fun and lay back and clap and be enthusiastic, if you allow that, they will respond. Every single time. It's called entrainment of the audience. When we're there live and we can see how the audience is responding to the way that we're speaking, you can really get a lot of really good feedback to know whether you need to ramp up their energy or whether you need to calm them down and get them back to focused. It's a skill that you learn over time, of course, but you learn that from doing hundreds and thousands of gigs. I absolutely love going live in front of a live audience of, 100, 1,000, 10,000 people, whatever it is, because you can see and feel that energy moving through the crowd. You can feel and see when they get disengaged, and then you can bring them straight back to the attention by changing something up that you're doing. It's super fun and super exciting. I can't wait to do live events again, because that's where everybody learns to shine in a very different level. On camera is great, but a lot of people still hide a little bit behind their on-camera presence. Don't be afraid to bring it, Maria. Just bring your best and highest energy to the task and you will succeed. Can't wait to hear your comments underneath. Make sure that when you're on YouTube and you're watching this, put #replay and put that you watched this particular episode and I'll answer your question live. Now, remember, you can ask any questions right now. I'm live on YouTube for the next 15 minutes or so. If you want to ask a question, just type it in the chat box underneath whatever platform you're watching on. If you plug it in Facebook, I will see Facebook user questions and comments. If you do it in YouTube, I will see that too. StreamYard is awesome. I love StreamYard because it allows me to see comments live. So the second question. Now, this is from Metaphysical Maria, a different lady on my YouTube channel. And she's saying, is speaking correctly going to improve my speaking voice? Oh, sorry, I didn't type this question in very well. She wanted to know, actually, if I improve the sound of my speaking voice, is it going to improve my singing voice automatically? Now, you may think that this would be a clear yes. Right? If you've got any ideas about whether that's yes or no, I'd love to hear your feedback. But look, as a singer, it really depends on 2 things. One thing is, if you're singing and speaking the same way, then yes, it'll unequivocally improve your singing voice. However, if you're singing in a very different way to the way that you're speaking, then no, it's not. So let me give you a really clear example of how it would not help. If you are an opera singer and you spend most of your life singing in a very high register, or a classical singer, up in this range, This is not where we speak. So you could be an amazing singer with really good strength in the upper range, but if that upper range is really strong and then the lower range is really weak, the more that you speak down here, trying to make it sound like your strong singing voice up here, it's not going to work because it's a different type of vocal fold closure. And I won't go into the technique of, scientific closure of the vocal folds here because you'll be bored. It's very interesting and it really helps, but here is it in a nutshell. If you sing up here all the time, and that's the voice that you use, then speaking in your speaking voice and strengthening your speaking voice the way that I'm speaking now is not going to help your singing voice in that way. However, if you speak and sing in a contemporary style, more like, say, Lady Gaga or Celine Dion or Christina Aguilera, if you're that type of singer, that is actually singing in your speaking voice. And when you're singing in your speaking range and your speaking voice, if you speak correctly all the time, absolutely, unequivocally, it will help your singing voice as well. So if you're singing every day in your regular speaking range, like Lady Gaga would, then you're going to strengthen both your singing voice and your speaking voice. I hope that makes sense to you. Please type in below Metaphysical Maria if you have any more questions around that. Just to cap this in a really, really short for you. When we're in our speaking range, the vocal folds go strongly connected together like this. Ah, you can hear how it's a strong, clear, projected sound. But when we're in thin vocal fold closure, it's a different type of sound. It's light and it's got more airflow. It's more pretty and it's much easier to produce. We don't speak up there in our thin vocal fold closure because it sounds really weird. Sounds like Mrs. McGonagall from Harry Potter. And then it will break down into speaking voice because we're meant to speak in speaking voice, which is thick vocal fold closure. So I hope that clears up any confusion around singing voice and speaking voice. Let's face it, it's one instrument. It goes from your head and your mindset all the way down to your hips. Our whole body instrument is involved in singing and speaking. That's it. It's really one voice. But of course, we call it different voices. We call it different sounds. But it's just using different areas to speak and sing in and using different vocal fold closures. And you can hear when you're doing the right vocal fold closure for speaking because it sounds clear, strong, and projected every time. If you sound clear, strong, and projected, you are speaking with a good setup, thick vocal fold closure in speaking voice. That's the simple solution. If you're sounding light and airy and shaky and wobbly, you are not using the correct technique for speaking and you're going to let yourself down both speaking and singing. Technique is super important because, again, it's not super important for your life. Generally speaking, it's super important to make sure that when you're speaking, you can sound strong and confident because that is going to give the perception to other people that you are confident and you can speak with confidence and conviction. So yes, it's important, but the science behind it, you don't need to know that. Just know that when you're speaking in speaking voice, clear, strong, projected. That's it. That's all you have to think about. Now, number 3, the last question is from, I forgot to write his name down. He had a strange name. Let me just double check that name. It's on here. It's Outernet87. Okay, Outernet87, this is for you, my love. This is hypernasal. I have a hypernasal voice. Is there any way to make my voice sound normal? Now, I can answer this question, no problem. As a holistic voice coach with a voice degree in vocal production, I know that the soft palate and the tongue and the way that we use our voice is very important. It's going to make you either nasal sounding or not. But there are people that are born with a cleft palate or an ineffectual soft palate that's not working properly. Now that could be an effect, or having an effect on your nasality in your voice. But here's another thing too. If you're blocked up, I'd love to know if your issue is breathing, or is it actually pathological? So let me explain the difference. If you have a pathological issue that you were born with, like a cleft palate, or something's missing from the soft palate, there's something going wrong with your actual system, then hyponasality, you might have to work around it in the best way that you can. It might not be able to be fixed. But here's what I found about hyponasality. Most people that come to me with that issue, they've had adenoids removed, the lumps in their nose so they can breathe properly, and they've had tonsils removed. Now, it's a very interesting thing that if you've had those two things removed, it means that you've been sick a lot of your childhood. Now, if you're sick in your childhood and you have a complete and you feel miserable all the time, then that's going to be very hard for you to learn how to speak properly. When you're speaking in your nose because it's so blocked up and you're so miserable, it becomes a habit. I had that habit myself. I couldn't breathe through my nose until I was about 26 years old. I had so many allergies, asthma, hay fever, allergic rhinitis, you name it, I had it. And because of that, I was really, really blocked up all the time. So I had to cure those issues first. So you need to find out if it's a pathological issue that you were born with, an actual defect in the system somewhere, or if it's just due to allergies, asthma, hay fever, allergic rhinitis, all of that. Go on my YouTube channel and check out. I've done a bunch of videos for people to help them get over that sort of breathing issue. It does really affect our voice. And especially if you're a singer or an actor, there's nothing worse than it sounding blocked up all the time. It's really horrible. Now, I want to give you a little tip around this. When you're sounding blocked up all the time, it's not because you're blocked up. It's actually because you're not understanding how to use your voice correctly. Here's why. There are 3 nasal sounds in the English language. 3. N for Nelly, M for mum, and NG, as in the word sing. That's it. Those 3 sounds, M, N, and NG, are the only ones that we actually use our nasal cavity for. Mum, right? But here's where people go wrong. Let's look at that word for a second. M-U-M, Australian spelling, English spelling. M is made in the nose. The airflow has to come out of the nose. But the U sound, ma, it actually sounds like an R sound, right? A-H, R, ah. There's no nasality to a vowel ever, at all. This is the problem. When people are lazy with their soft palate and they don't use their mouth correctly for speaking, it'll sound like this instead. Mum, ma. See, in the vowel, I've now put all the airflow in my nose, the same as I did with the M. This is where people go wrong. If they're lazy using their soft palate, their articulation, and their airflow out of their mouth, they're going to sound really nasal, and that can be really annoying. Now, it can be annoying for you, of course, because it's really hard to listen to yourself back on video and on audio when you sound hypernasal, because it doesn't sound right. Another thing is that I found with my clients, with my students, is that people who speak hypernasal sound a little bit superior. I'm not sure why, but when you speak into your nose, it makes you sound like you're more superior than other people. It's silly, but it's a thing. Remember, it always goes back to rule number 1. Perception is everything. So I'm going to end this live cast with this question. What perception are you giving your audience by the way that you're speaking? Today we talked about tone of voice. What tone is appropriate to go on stage as an MC during graduation? Number 2, is my speaking, if I correct my speaking voice technique, is it going to automatically improve my singing voice? That was a 2-part question. Hopefully that was answered for you, Metaphysical Maria. And also the last question is about hyponasality. Now, remember, on the Voice of Confidence TV, where I go live twice a week on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then I have my pre-recorded video uploaded at midnight on Tuesdays, there is tons and tons of free training on that page in my YouTube channel. I've got about 7,000 subscribers. Make sure that you hit the bell so you don't miss a live video, and then subscribe to the channel if you're seeing this on YouTube Live. If you're seeing it inside Facebook, my name is Elisa James. I'm inside the Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club, and have a wonderful week. I'll see you next time. Bye.